So the end times hobbyists continue to come out of the woodwork, proclaiming the end is near and Jesus is coming soon. Look at all the signs. Doesn't seem to faze them at all that nothing that any of them have ever said in the 1900 plus years of this type of behavior, never have they been correct about anything. I mean, number one, never seen anybody raptured yet. So, and again, that doesn't mean it won't happen. Doesn't mean it won't happen. But it sure means that they don't know what they're talking about. So let's see what this guy, Steve Monette, has to say.
And we continue to see pastors in churches today repeat the "no man knoweth the day or the hour" mantra, despite two books of the Bible that clearly show us when Jesus will return.
Yeah, we continue to hear the mantra that Jesus is coming soon also, despite the despite the fact that the Bible never once says we're going to know any of this stuff. And despite your claim that you just made. So let me go over to another video that you made. And I watched this entire video, and I'm basing my thought that you know when the end is because of this video.
In the Olivet Discourse, Jesus answers three questions the apostles have just asked. One of those questions was, when would the end of days occur?
Hang on. The question they asked was, what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the age, as you put on your slide there. So no, they did not ask of the end of all things would occur. They said, when's the end of the age? And what you guys have to understand is, which age were they asking about? Number one. And number two, were the disciples absolutely confused? And number three, did Jesus aid them in their confusion and further confuse them? When they asked about the end of the age, there's only a few possibilities of which age they were asking about. The first possibility is the end of the age they were in. And that would make the most sense because who would ask about the end of an age that hasn't even come yet? So that's, so anyway, they're asking about the end of the age they were in, which was the Old Covenant age, the Mosaic Old Covenant age. And they knew by reading their scriptures and studying them, there would be a messianic age to come, a kingdom age. And they were not asking about the end of that kingdom age, were they? So that's the second possibility is, hey, when's the end of the kingdom age to come? Because they were told all their lives, because it's all through the Old Testament in literally dozens of verses, the messianic kingdom age has no end. It'll last forever. So they wouldn't be asking about the end of that age. And the third possibility is the one that all these pre-tribbers believe, is the disciples were asking about the end of the church age, which hadn't come yet either. And that's the least possible because, number one, there's no such thing as any church age anywhere in the Bible anywhere. Number two, pre-tribbers believed that nobody knew about this church age. It was a mystery until Paul. So how could the disciples have been asking about the end of the church age when they didn't even know it existed? Not to mention, thirdly, they weren't in that age yet. So who asks about the end of an age that they haven't even gotten to yet? So the disciples' question is very, very revealing. They were obviously asking about, when is the end of the age that we're in now? What's the end? What are the signs of the end of the Old Covenant age and the beginning of the Messianic kingdom age that shall never end? When are we going to see this? So I advise you guys to start there. Start there with that understanding, and it'll pretty much lay itself out for you from there on.
And Jesus clearly described a series of events that had to happen before the end of time, at which point he would return for us.
Okay, again, he never talks about the end of time. There's no concept of the end of time anywhere in the scriptures. There's one verse in Revelation where it says time is no more, but it's not talking about the end of time as a thing. It's just saying we're out of time. The Old Testament never speaks of being out of time. So Jewish people did not have a concept of that, and neither should we. God is eternal. God lives outside of time. God exists outside of time. We do not. We are humans. We will never exist outside of time, ever. We will be in time forever. There will be no end to it. There will be no end to it, but we're not going to be outside of it. So Jesus was not talking about the end of time. He only talked about the end of the Old Covenant age,
Some of these events include the destruction of the Jewish temple,
which happened.
lawlessness, famines, disease,
Yep.
earthquakes, false teachings,
Yeah.
and a fig tree that would reblossom. Now, most of these events are either generic or happened centuries ago. But what makes this prophecy so interesting is that one of those events listed by Jesus was that a fig tree would reblossom. And whoever saw this reblossoming would not die.
Okay, that is completely false, and I'm going to prove it once again. What you just said is completely wrong. Jesus did not say any of the things you just said that he said. Hal Lindsey said those things. So Hal Lindsey in 1969 put words in Jesus' mouth. He put words in the Lord's mouth. He made the Lord of the universe say things the Lord of the universe did not say. How dare Hal Lindsey do that? How dare he do that? And how dare you people keep telling everybody that the Lord said that? How dare you put words in the Lord's mouth? It's only going to come back to haunt you, because I guarantee you, we will keep seeing years go by and nothing will happen that you say. And how can I guarantee that? Because the Lord did not say that. This horrendous, heretical notion has to stop. And the faster, the better. Jesus gave a bunch of signs of the end of the age. He gave a bunch of signs of his coming, and he talked about a bunch of things that would occur prior to the destruction of the temple, all through Matthew 24 and Luke 21 and Mark 13. There's 3 different passages. You pre-tribbers never talk about Mark or Luke, especially not Luke, because when you read Luke 21, guys, go read it. It's very obvious he's talking about the first century. It's just all over the place in there. Matthew 24, it's a little less, it's a little nebulous. Although to me, it's obvious he's talking about the first century, just clearly and plainly, but whatever. We won't argue about that. But he talks about all these, false Christs, false prophets showing great signs and wonders, the tribulation of those days and on and on. These are the signs that will come as the kingdom is coming, the end of the age. Then he says this, now learn a parable of the fig tree. And in Luke 21, he says, all the trees and all the trees. So when the branch is yet tender and puts forth leaves, summer is nigh. So likewise, when you see all these things, the things he just talked about, the signs of the end of the age, you would know that it is near. The kingdom is near, even at the doors. I know it's kingdom because in Mark and Luke, he says kingdom. Guys, he never says, learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, you know that the kingdom is near. You know that my coming is near. You know that the end of the age is near. No. Summer, literal, actual summer, literal, actual fig trees and all the trees. He's just making a metaphor. Where in this verse, anywhere, again, does it say the fig tree blooming is a sign of the end of the age or my coming? Where does he say that? Nowhere. So you guys can sit there and argue all day long till you're blue in the face. The fig tree represents Israel. The fig tree represents it. It doesn't even matter. So first of all, no, there's not one single Bible verse anywhere that says fig tree and Israel are equal to each other somehow. The nation of Israel is a fig tree. Nothing. But it doesn't even matter. He's not talking about that. And this absolute lie from the pit has been passed around and passed around. It's a favorite tactic of you guys to, say something over and over and over again ad nauseum, never cracking a Bible open to show in the pages, here is the verses where Jesus says the fig tree blooming is a sign of my coming. Not to mention, by the way, that the fig tree blooming is actually really Israel becoming a nation again. I mean, that's preposterous. That's not even, there's no hint of that anywhere. Jesus never says there has to be a state of Israel in order for me to come back. Never says that. Nobody says that. James doesn't say it. John doesn't say it. Paul doesn't say it. Peter doesn't say it. John in Revelation never talks, well, none of this can happen until Israel's a state again. I mean, ridiculous. Ridiculous. Just stop it. Stop passing this nonsense around.
And we also continue to see pastors who even refuse to preach prophecy. And they're not even preparing their flocks for what's coming.
What is there to do to prepare? If you're pre-trib, which I think you are, there's nothing to do to prepare anybody for anything. You're going to be out of here. Remember? What are you getting your people prepared for? They're not going to be here for any of it. Are you saying that we have to be prepared to be whisked to heaven bodily, all of a sudden changed into our glorious bodies in a split second? We have to be ready for that because it might surprise us otherwise? Sir, I guarantee you, if that happens, 100% of everyone is going to be surprised when it happens. It doesn't matter how much you think you're preparing yourself by watching TV and paying attention to news articles on the internet. For God's sake, you're not preparing anybody for anything with this nonsense. You're just hyping and speculating and having a good time with your hobby. This is your hobby, sir. Don't you dare call what you do a ministry. It's a hobby. You guys like to sit around and talk about this because it's exciting and fun. And then you like to share with each other all of your, here's what I've learned, here's what I've learned, here's what I've learned. That's what people don't want to do. That's what real pastors in real churches that are actually focused on what God has said, not how Lindsay has said. That's why they don't, quote unquote, preach prophecy. Because prophecy, in your view, is reading the paper or watching the news or whatever, and then looking in the Bible to see it happening right before our very eyes. That's not prophecy, sir. No, nobody has been commanded to do that. Nobody has been told by Jesus, God, Paul, Peter, anybody to do that, what you're doing. And again, you have been 100% wrong so far. 100%. 100. And again, I'm telling you, nothing that's gone on in the Middle East, nothing has a thing to do with anything in the Olivet Discourse, with anything in Revelation. And then you're going to see that that's true as these years go by. Unfortunately, you guys don't want to wake up about it ahead of time and shut your mouths about all this speculation and nonsense. You want to just keep it going. You know what? If you guys want to sit around on a Saturday night with all your friends around the table and talk about this stuff, feel free, man. It's a free country, and you're Christians and you love it, and that's great. Just don't get on YouTube and use the name of Jesus Christ, your Lord, in the Bible to tell the world that you know the future.